Now there's one thing we can probably all agree on. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best games ever made. For me, maybe even the best. But it's not just the game world, from icy mountain peaks to those super creepy swamps with their zombie-like inhabitants. That's huge. The entire story is massive too, and with so much going on, it's pretty easy to lose track of how everything connects and when exactly things happened. But that's what I'm here for. We've summarized the complete story of Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 for you. Basically like a podcast you can listen to while cleaning, doing chores, or whatever. Of course, this video will also show plenty of gameplay footage, but you can totally just listen to it as well. So here it is, our first and last obligatory spoiler warning. This is a summary with a few interesting background facts. And yes, I will absolutely spoil both Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. But before we get to the redemption, let's quickly look at the predecessor, Red Dead Revolver. If you want to understand the origins of the Red Dead series, you can't skip Revolver. Released in 2004, 6 years before the first redemption, you play as Red Harlow. His story is mostly separate from the Linde gang, but you can already see some ideas that later show up again in Redemption. Red, the son of Nate Harlow and the Native American falling star, watches helplessly as both of his parents are murdered in front of him by Colonel Darren, who wants the revolver that belonged to Red's father. Red manages to shoot the Colonel's arm off and escape. Years later, he returns as a hardened bounty hunter, hunts him down, and kills him with the very same revolver the Colonel murdered his father for. A classic revenge story, right? Sounds familiar. Even some characters in Revolver resemble later ones in Redemption. For example, Annie Stokes feels a lot like Bonnie McFarlane, and Shadow Wolf is very reminiscent of Eagle Flies. Revolver basically laid the groundwork so that later, Redemption could ride in at full speed, like crashing a horse straight into a carriage because you weren't paying attention. But now let's jump to another part of the Wild West, around the same time period, 1877. That's roughly when the story of the Linde gang begins. Dutch van der Linde and Hosea Matthews meet. They take in Arthur Morgan and their shared outlaw life, and our story begins. The events of Red Dead Redemption 2 start years later, in snowy mountains after one of the worst setbacks the gang has ever faced. A bank robbery in a Blackwater went horribly wrong. Members of the gang died. We meet everyone in the middle of a crisis. The blizzard won't stop. People are injured. John Marston is missing. Food is running out. The hopelessness after this disaster is almost tangible. But right now, only one thing matters: survival. Slowly, very slowly, the gang regroups. They move down from the mountains and eventually settle near Valentine. Spirits rise again. At night, people sing around the campfire, and everyone's just happy to finally take off their winter coats. Meanwhile, Dutch and Hosea are working toward a clear goal: make enough money to disappear to Tahiti and live a life of luxury. And how do outlaws make money? By conning people, robbing them, robbing banks, moving on to the next town, and doing it all over again. Honestly, that's about 70% of the story of Red Dead Redemption 2. The goal is always the same: make money so Dutch's plan can finally happen. But the real heart of the story is the gang itself, the relationships between its members, especially the bond Arthur has with everyone else. Between all the tragedies, when more gang members die, please support this new channel with a free subscription for more videos like this. And now back to the video. Love. Arthur eventually faces a different reality, his own death. During a debt collection mission, he contracts tuberculosis. We only find out later, when he collapses coughing blood in the streets of St. Denis. Arthur knows he's going to die. We know he's going to die. And from that moment on, his death hangs over everything. But Arthur keeps going, trying to make sure his family, the gang, is taken care of. To do that, they need money. But the plans become increasingly desperate. Carefully planned cons turn into reckless bank robberies where people die. The gang begins to fall apart because Dutch falls apart. His careful leadership turns into paranoia and anger. Suddenly the story isn't just about money anymore. It's about morality. How much is loyalty worth? When is enough enough? Arthur ultimately dies because of this conflict. He stays loyal to Dutch until the end, constantly warning him about Micah Bell. But there's someone Arthur cares about even more: John Marston. John has to get out alive, with his wife Abigail Marston and his son Jack Marston. Arthur saves John in the final shootout, sacrificing himself, but knowing John now has a chance at a peaceful life. And for a brief moment, it looks like things actually work out. John reunites with Abigail and Jack. They build a new life. They leave the gang behind. But chronologically, things only get worse. Now we arrive at the events of Red Dead Redemption. John's past catches up with him. The government, led by Edgar Ross, forces him to hunt down his former gang members. If he refuses, his family will suffer. So John sets out to buy their freedom with blood. One by one, he tracks down the people who were once like family. Bill Williamson, Javier Escuella, and eventually Dutch himself. Dutch doesn't let John kill him though. Instead, he jumps off a cliff, leaving John with a final warning. The government will betray him. And unfortunately, he's right. Ross eventually returns with an army and guns John down in a hail of bullets. And just like in Red Dead Revolver, the story comes full circle. Children avenge their parents. Years later, Jack Marston grows up, tracks down Edgar Ross, and kills him in a final duel while Ross is enjoying his retirement fishing. Fun fact, Jack and Ross actually met for the first time while fishing in Red Dead Redemption 2. And years later, that same activity becomes their final encounter. Goosebumps. And that's the entire Red Dead story in, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe 13 minutes. Obviously, this is a heavily condensed version. There's so much more that happens, but covering everything would take forever. So here's a question for you. If Red Dead Redemption 3 ever happens, will it still be about the Linde gang? Or is it time for something completely new? Or imagine this. What if they suddenly continued the story of Red Harlow, like 15 years later? That would actually bring the whole thing full circle. Anyway, that's it. Is the story of Red Dead one of perhaps the best video game stories? Or what other games come to mind? Feel free to suggest games for my next video. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or a dislike if you didn't. That's fine too. Thanks for watching, and as always, big hugs.